Hello, today we're going to be learning how to mine Vertcoin using a Windows computer and an nVidia graphics card. I'm going to be using Windows 10, although the process is going to be a lot the same for Windows 7 and Windows 8. We're going to use the CCMiner application to do our mining, and we're going to be using P2Pool to actually pool our mining resources and collect. So there's a few different things you need. The first, obviously, is the Vertcoin wallet. You can download that from the vertcoin.org website. If you click on the Getting Started link, in this case we're going to use the Windows wallet. Now once that downloads and syncs up with the blockchain, which can take a few hours depending on your internet connection, you'll see a screen like this. I've clicked on the Receive portion here because we're going to be setting up a miner using one new address. So I've already set up an address here, but it's pretty easy to do. We just make a new address with a label. We might call it miner. You don't need an amount in this case because we're not requesting an amount from someone, so we just leave it as nothing. We don't need a message of any kind, and we just hit the request payment button, and it gives us our address, and up here, and a QR code. Now I've already got one set up, so I'm just going to remove that one. Now we'll need to download the CCMiner application, and you can get that from CCMiner.org. We're going to be using one from this list here. I'm using the Class T version because on my system I've noticed that it's a little bit more stable. You can use any of them though, and I've had success with the others. After you've done that, we need a batch file to actually run the CCMiner application. So if you go to the directory where you downloaded the CCMiner, you need to extract it first of all. So I've done that, and here's the extracted folder. So if we go in here, this is our CCMiner application, and we need a batch file that we're actually going to use to run that application with a number of parameters that's going to tell that application how to mine and how to connect to the pool. So the best way to do this, and I've already got one created here, but if you use the software Notepad++, all you do is save your file. Once you've got your batch file created, you just do a save as, title it something, and then select batch file here from the drop down. Gosh, if I can find it. Notepad++ is fantastic, except this list is huge. There it is. Okay. So now how do we actually construct this batch file? As you can see, the very first line needs to be the title of this application. So if you downloaded one of the different versions of that, when you extract it, you'll see the file name in this folder, and that's the first line. So it might be something like CCMiner x64, something like that. So you just need to use the same name that's up here. Next, we're going to need to declare an algorithm. So this -a means we're declaring a new parameter, and the algorithm we're going to use to mine Vertcoin is the Lira 2v2. Now I've got a -i, and in this case that means the intensity setting. I've got my intensity set to 14, and I've done some testing and found that that's a good number that seems to deliver a good hash rate and also seems to be pretty stable on my system. Now, the O designates the URL for our mining pool. And in this case, we're using this one. And I found that by going to, this is the P2Pool mining scanner for Vertcoin. So it's a service that shows you all of the, or at least some of the active Vertcoin mining pools. It's scanner.vtconline.org. I live on the West Coast, so I'm going to be using this one here in Seattle. Now the way you set it up is with this stratum, so you need your -o, and then stratum plus TCP : / then that IP address and port number. So once you've got that put in there, choose a location that best suits your location. Ideally it's close to you. I would avoid one with a transaction or with a fee though. Fortunately mine does not. There you can probably maybe find a guide on setting up your own node, but that's a little beyond the scope of this video. The next is our username, and in this case the username is actually going to be that address that we created in our Vertcoin wallet. So this one here is the same one I've got down here. Now, the -p is our password, and this is our worker password. It doesn't actually need to be especially secure. In fact, it'll help us if someone else is using our worker password, because they might be giving us some Vertcoins. In any case, you can just declare anything you want. You could use the letter 1. I just put in some characters. So, once that's done, you can save the batch file to the same folder location that your CCMiner is extracted to, and that's what I've done here. Once that's all set up and your batch file is set up, I think we should be good to go. So, moment of truth here, let's start up this miner and see what kind of hash rate we can get, or if it just crashes on us. Okay, so this is good. It looks like it did connect to the mining pool successfully. You can see that output up there. I've got one miner thread started using the correct algorithm. That's fantastic. Okay, so here we go. GPU 0 is using my Gigabyte GTX 650, and I'm getting a 591 kilohash rate, which is not good, but for this demonstration it should suffice. We can change our intensity setting and from 14 to maybe 15 and 16. I think it goes all the way to 31, and see if we can get some more kilohash or even megahash out of our video card. But be forewarned, things are going to be running pretty hot the higher you go, and a lot more unstable. So ideally you want this to be able to run basically 24/7. So I have mine running whenever I go to bed, and anytime I want to. And it just sits there and mines away. It looks like, though, we haven't actually gotten an accepted block of work yet. So I'm going to let it run for just a second longer. The other thing you need to be aware of is this Readme file. It's very helpful if you have a more complicated setup. This is the Readme file here. You can donate to any one of these people if you like to. You should. I gave a little bit of BTC to Klaus for hooking me up. So the real meat of it is right here. If we looked at our batch file, you can see this -a refers to here, and this is where we call our algorithm that we're going to be using. So in our case, we're using Lyra2v2 for Vertcoin. D, now devices, this is a comma-separated list of devices to use. So if you have more than one graphics card, you're going to need that D parameter. I only have the one in my desktop computer here, so it just uses the default. I is intensity, and we already talked about that. So there's a lot of different parameters you can use. I always suggest you take a look at them and see what they do. You're probably fine with the defaults to get started, though if you have a more complicated mining rig, multiple graphics cards, you might need to start using some of these different parameters. And you can find that information from our Slack chat or from the subreddit. You can get help with that. So let's see if our mining has gotten anywhere yet. Here's one. So we got our first little body of work accepted up here. 100% accepted 1 of 1. So now that that's done, we can take a look and see our pitiful hash rate. So if I click on this link down here for Seattle, I can see, hey, there's my address. It's got me in here at 169. It's not actually accurate. As you can see, it's going a little more than that. But this doesn't update right away, so just be aware of that. And it looks like I'll be getting a nice little payout in 6 days and 22 hours. So I hope your video card's a little bit nicer than mine. And like I said, this isn't totally accurate. If this was reading 700 or 800 or 600 or so, this would probably be down to about 1.5 days, which is still not great, but you get the idea. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you have any questions, please feel free to visit us in Slack or on the Reddit. But you should be ready to mine now on your Windows machine. Thanks.